Alright gang, here's the 1960 190 diesel. Here's my Schumacher Charger I ran over, and it still works. I just replaced the negative and positive terminals, and you can see way down there there's a new ground strap, that's shiny. I got the ground strap on eBay. I believe it's a 4 gauge. It's really important what gauge wire you use. I believe this is a 4 gauge and that's a 2 gauge. I'm gonna let it run. It hadn't ran. All of a sudden it just stopped running. But so I replaced these straps. You can see how whipped these are. These are the originals. And when they're this whipped, it really resists getting any power to where it wants to go. And that strap, here's the strap. Like I said, I got this guy on eBay for like 10 bucks. And these have to ground properly, otherwise it ain't never gonna run. So what I did is I swapped out those straps and it still wouldn't run. I sprayed some of this stuff, the blaster, down on my generator and on my starter. And I took a hammer and I hit it right here, and I hit the starter motor. Just tap it. You don't have to dent it or nothing like that. I just tapped it a few times, and I just go back and forth trying to get the thing to start. And lo and behold, it started. You can see back here, there's two of these guys, and they take a little white fuse. So if you follow Mercedes source, he tells you to clean these up and put new ones in. You can see there's a burned out one right there. That one's a stubby, it's a 25 amp. For some reason it's worn, and it's 25 amp, it's a stubby. They're kind of hard to find, believe it or not. And you know, this is an American model exported from Germany, so everything's in English. I'm just really pleased it's running again and smoking. So it needs new rings, which, you know, if you watch my videos, we went over this guy before. So let's just take a look here. So this is the kind of fuse I gotta go get about, I don't know, 10 or 12 of them for the front, and some of those other hidden locations behind the fuse box. And then this fuse in here is the old one. It's just I put it in the new package. Because what I did is I went and looked up that item number, the Mercedes number, and it came up with that number, DE3175. And here's a little secret for you. That's not really, well, I guess it's a fuse, but it's also a light. But you know, I'm just not that knowledgeable. But it turns out that little light is for this guy here, your generator light. Now I put that new one in, and it's actually behind here. It's accessible from behind here, underneath the speedometer. And so look in here. Yeah, it's right back in here. You got to monkey with your hands, and there's a little round nut. You pull that round nut off, and there's a little big light box. The best photos are on mbcponton.org. What you could do is Google ignition fuse ponton starter, and it'll bring you to their page. And I'm just so pleased this thing runs. If I get so that one of that good fuse that we looked at, that's lighting up that guy, and I need fuses to light up these two. Excuse me, just that guy, I guess. And so we're almost there again, getting it back. I'm not going to park this out in the rain ever again. I think that's what happened, but I don't know. It's a neat old car. I'm just glad I got it fired up running again, but that, for some reason, that light ain't working, but it might just be because it's an LED and it's not the original old school bulb. But anyway, that's what they say is the replacement. It could be that it takes some sort of an LED relay to light it up. I do not know. But anyway, there's the car. I'm going to just shut this down, push that in, release that key, and we're good. I don't think I have headlight anymore. I think it's I think I gotta replace those fuses to get headlight back. But so anyway, there's your fuses. You got a fuse directly below the speedometer over here by the column. There's a hidden fuse back in there, and like I said, it's in a little tiny bakelite box. And that fuse is not going to have anything to do with starting the car. It's a fuse just to illuminate this little light here to tell you that you're starting the car. And that's what all that is about. If you follow my YouTubes, you know, I got too many projects, too many cars, bikes, homes, whatever. Fuck. It never ends. I think last week was hot water heater, $700-800 out of the blue, surprise, because it had a plastic water shutoff on the bottom. If it would have been brass, it would have lasted, truthfully, another 20 years. But cheap plastic don't last. Anyway, so there's this guy again. We got it fired up. I'm going to be working on the. Let me move this thing over here. So I know where that is. My dogs won't get in here. I'm going to be working on the 2002, the 71. That's a beater. And that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to get that operationally starting and running, and then I'll rotate back to these other cars and bikes. But how cool is that? We got that thing started. And that little knob, you can see that little knob right there. These guys break. They just shatter. You know, they're 1960. What is that? 62 years old. So those things shatter. I'd like to go to a machine shop and just make one out of metal to put on there. I think that'd last better. They're really fun little cars. They're gutless. They're not like little Porsches that just move fast, but they're fun little cars. And man, I'm just so pleased I got this thing started. So I went and got some tires a while back. I think I reviewed all that, just so I could move the thing around. Turns out these tires were like $100 each, you know. But yeah, I ran over the Schumacher and taped the fucker back together again. Oh, looks like we moved something here. One thing I really will tell you is go get a C-Tech charger. Look it up, C-Tech. They do the AGM, the standard battery acid, and they do the gel. I highly recommend those C-Techs. I think they do a better job than the Schumachers. And that Optima, that's like a $300 Optima. If you're going to work on cars, you really, really, really need to have chargers if you're not driving them every day. You need to have these batteries on chargers, get them 100%. Because once they start going down and losing charge, it's like the death process for a battery. But just to review again, I put on a new battery cables from the AutoZone. I think these guys were like $30. I got 32 inches, 2 gauge, 4 gauge, and I got that little 4 gauge strap down there, right there. And that's grounded right here, so that ground has to be correct. You have to sand that or whatever, or you spray that lubricant on it, and that'll let it make contact, and that'll just kind of create a new pathway, kind of like a new neuronal pathway in your brain, but except in your car. But if you have old straps like I showed earlier, good chance your car just ain't gonna run, because it's just losing too much charge getting to the starter motor. But I'm not the expert on these cars. I know people work on them, and I know maybe a little bit more than somebody else. And it's just great if you can just put that on the internet and solve somebody's headache in 5 minutes instead of, you know, spending hours trying to figure out why the fuck the son of a bitch don't run. But yeah, so there it is. Get some new fuses and clean those terminals up with a little brass toothbrush, just like Mercedes Source always recommends. That's a fantastic resource to follow. I highly recommend it. Yeah, definitely. So there we are. And here's these guys. These are so worn out, but I'm going to keep them just to have them. Remind me what junk looks like. Oh man, I'm just so relieved this son of a bitch runs. So the red one, it did the same thing. It kind of like stopped like that too. So that might be the same thing. I'm gonna have to tackle that and see if that's what it is. And then that guy, fuck, I'm gonna pull the ring gear out, put the new one in from the UK, and put Monarch injectors in there. It's got Monarch glow plugs, the pencil ones. Highly recommend those. I got them on eBay from a seller in Hamburg. It's the difference between a car that don't start and a car that does start. And you always want to make sure your diesel pump, your Bosch diesel pump is working. It can't just be kind of working. It has to 100% be working. And it has to push that fuel. In the Alfa Romeo, it's like a Spica system they use. Same thing. And you've got to have hot glow plugs, and you've got to have injectors, the Monarch, and you've got to have a hot battery. And then, you know, these old cars, 60, 70 years old, you've got to have new battery cables. And I'm going to go through all the fuses next. But this is the closest one to being really a daily driver, other than the smoke. So get another engine hoist, yank that, and swap out the rings. I was kind of wanting to get the headlight, horn, taillight, everything squared away before I do that. At least then it's like an almost drivable car. I had people harassing me on my old Porsche out front, so I put it in my locked up garage. They're going to have to get past a lot of dogs and a lot of guns to get to it now. So, and then I had this motorcycle stand that I'm just using for lawn tools and transmissions I'm monkeying with. But here's a 2002. That thing will run this summer, one way or the other. So let's take a look here. Okay, here's the 71 BMW 2002 motor. I couldn't put the head on because this chain wouldn't reach. And it turns out that it was bound up down here. This was like off that sprocket, and it was bound up. There's no way that some of it was coming loose. I got a new one of these guides came in today. Of course, this thing needs a real total cleanup. The head's underneath that rag. And we're almost there. It really does need new sprockets. Fun. But there it is. This is a lot closer now. Now it's just basically putting the head on, putting some sprockets on it, and that motor should be operational. You know, it's kind of crazy how you know, I just learned these skills because I have to learn these skills. But I can't hire anybody to come and work with me or work for me or anything. Even at their prices, they don't want to come out and do it. My only concern is loading this is I'm going to be using the manual clutch, not the slave cylinder clutch. Yeah. So I want to use the manual clutch instead of the slave cylinder clutch, and maybe at some future point we'll swap that out for something different. What if this is easily readily seeable on here? That is the manual clutch bracket. That's part of the engine. You won't find this on the later engines, only on the manual engines. Like this engine ain't gonna have it. You know, it just blows me away that you could buy whole engines for like $100. That just floors me. And you know, I'm used to doing Indians and Harleys where, you know, you're spending the kids' college funds and everything just to get the bikes going. And yeah, so there it is, gang. This bastard will be running this summer for sure, if not in the next month. So, all right, gang. You ready for the drought this year? We are in a genuine drought. Like in the year 1100 in Mesa Verde, and go look that up. Those people evacuated because of a drought. So, we'll catch you on the next YouTube.